What's up, it's your sis Moon Magic, aka the Hip Hop Witch, and today I'm going to be talking about everything that you need to know in order to be traveling the UK solo, alone, with somebody, on tour, etc, etc. This November I got the awesome pleasure of getting to travel part of the UK, mostly the England area, but this video does help to apply for anybody who's looking to travel the UK in general. Also, sidebar, I did break a nail, so just ignore that, okay? Anyway, so during this video I'm going to go over my 5 tips to traveling England and the UK area. Let's get it. So number 1, transportation. This one is a big one. So I definitely recommend for anybody who can, financially is possible, if you can get a car, you do need to get a international driver's permit if you are coming from the United States or a different country outside of the UK. It's something you have to file. This is really big. You have to file it at your DMV or your government location prior to you actually getting on the plane. So you need to actually have done that work already. You cannot get an international driver's permit when you're already in the other country. Therefore, I didn't do that paperwork. I wasn't able to, or I probably would have gotten a rental car at some point on my trip. If you're like me and you did not have a rental car and you need another way to get around, the best way I would recommend getting around the UK and specifically the England area is through the National Express or Megabus. You can use the trains, but I don't highly recommend using the trains. I do hear that if you get them, you book them earlier, like a month in advance, a couple weeks in advance, that they're much cheaper. But in my experience, all of my travel plans were kind of last minute. And something that I kind of had to go with the flow. I was with a touring group, and so I didn't have the ability to book it all in advance since there's a lot of moving pieces day to day. For this reason, I used National Express mostly. I didn't even actually use Megabus, but there was the option to use Megabus for some of them. Megabus is much cheaper if you can get a Megabus. I would recommend that. National Express is a little bit more expensive. So you're looking at somewhere between 20, 15 pounds for your Megabus, 30 pounds to 30, 40, 20 pounds for the National Express. The National Express, though, the reason why I ended up using it was that it was much more accessible. Megabus, it would not have as much of a schedule happening, so there would be times where I couldn't get a bus out of the city with Megabus. National Express was the only option. So National Express is one of the buses that has the most options and destinations in different towns, cities, and areas that it goes to. And so for me, was going with the touring act and was around in different cities every single day, different day. That was the best option for me because all of my tickets that I booked were last minute and they were all in different cities that were 5, 6, 7 hours apart. Then once you get to the city, I definitely recommend if you're in the London area to take the Tube, which is their subway station. Very easy to take, very convenient, cheap, and pretty similar to like the New York subway station if you've ever taken that. I learned on the last day of my trip that if you actually use your Visa or MasterCard on the Tube station, that it's actually cheaper than if you use cash. So that's something to keep in mind too. Personally, I would just recommend in general, have a Master or Visa card on hand. Try to get one without an international fee. And if that's not possible, have another credit card that doesn't have international fees, and then also have some cash on hand just in case, kind of balance it between those ones, okay? You can also use whatever local city bus of those towns and area. I went quite far throughout England, Brighton, Newcastle, Hull. We went to London, Margate, and I also traveled a little bit towards the end of my trip just for my own personal reasons. I really wanted to hit Stonehenge before I left, so I will be talking about my advice for Stonehenge here too. Wait till the very end of the video if you're interested in Stonehenge, or you can skip by clicking the timestamps down below if you want to hear specifically about Stonehenge. Number 2, hotels and where to stay. I really recommend that you look up hostels. You can do that on your Google Maps if you have Google Maps. There's also other websites like booking.com, which was one that I used quite often where it was cheaper. But also I found out that sometimes it would be cheaper on booking.com and sometimes it would actually be a whole lot cheaper if it was in person. So it's something that you might want to play around with. I would recommend getting a UK phone so that you could call the hostels or hotels ahead of time. I didn't end up doing that because I didn't want to pay the extra fee for it because I was in town for such a short amount of time. But if I did have it, I could have called ahead and found out how much the hostel or hotel was in person versus the websites. So something I definitely recommend if you're interested in it, because I couldn't make any phone calls while I was in the UK without getting really crazy international charges. But I did have a plan that allowed me to use my data, and I did also have a plan that allowed me to use text. I definitely think having some sort of way to access the internet while you are traveling throughout the UK and England is super important. Do not rely on only being connected to Wi-Fi. If that's the only way you can get connected to data, I do think you would be more comfortable having some sort of phone plan, UK kind of burner phone. And they have them for pretty affordable prices, like £50-ish is what I was told. Overall, I recommend staying at hostels. There's a lot of really amazing hostels that I stayed at. I really like this one called Elephant Castle in London. If you are planning on being in London, it was really clean, it was really affordable, and overall the guests were very mindful of one another, and it had a lot of amenities, and I really liked the place overall and the vibes of it, and where it was located was kind of central to all the sightseeing and things that I was doing in London anyways. There's also this really amazing hostel in Hull called Hostel Backpackers or something like that. It was an independent hostel just for backpackers, but you know, you're open to go even if you're not a backpacker, in Hull, and it was just really amazing, great price. And I lucked out because of the time of year that I went to the UK and England. A lot of these hostels, I ended up being the only person in the room, especially because I was a woman and I was in all female dorms. So then I would be the only woman inside this dorm because there were no other women guests that night. So that was kind of cool to get the whole room to myself and kind of, you know, pay the price of a hostel, but basically have a hotel room. I did end up staying some nights in the hotel with the other people that I was traveling with when we did link up and connect with. But overall, if I was traveling on my own for that day, then I would go through the hostel. Number 3, what to do, what to see, highlight some of the things that I loved. So definitely, like I said, I'm going to talk about Stonehenge. I definitely recommend anybody who's in the UK, England area to at least hit Stonehenge before you go. I personally really wish that I could have spent a little more time there and gone up to Scotland and gone up and crossed the way to Ireland, but I didn't end up doing that. I definitely recommend it if you do and you have a little bit more time, but I was mostly focusing on the England area. But you can take a bus that will take you all the way up that way. So that's something to keep in mind if you're interested in that. I mostly spent a lot of my time in London, and these are some of my favorite things that I got to do in London. I personally really loved the Elephant Castle area. They had a lot of really cool shops and like night markets and lights because it was the holiday time, and things that you can do at night, and it just was like really cool kind of hipster vibes in a lot of the area, and cool little shops and things like that, and a lot of authentic food from all the different cultures that come around and live in London, which was amazing. I had so much amazing Indian food while I was in London. I had amazing Greek food while I was in London. I was eating the best curry every single day. It was so good, so good. I definitely recommend to do all the sightseeing type of stuff. Go see the Eye of London, go see Big Ben, go see the London Bridge. Tower Bridge is like across from the London Bridge. The London Bridge is actually, there's nothing there. You know, London Bridge is falling down. It's gone. But you should go there, check it out. It's very historical. It was a nice walk from where I was staying at the Elephant Castle Hostel. And you can also just grab one of the local city buses, hop on one of those double-decker buses that you see all the time, and kind of just vibe around the city. Like I said, the tube station is a really easy way to get around, and I really enjoyed using that and getting to go to Birmingham Palace and just kind of go to all the, you know, common sites that you see. Number 4, pricing. All right, so I am a United States citizen, so obviously it was a little bit more expensive to be in the UK area. It kind of balanced out with food, like the prices wise, like it would be cheaper in pounds, but it'd basically be the same amount in the United States if you actually, you know, calculated it. So you're looking at anywhere from like $10, $15 for a regular plate of food, which was about, you know, 8 pounds to 13 pounds there. One thing I would let you know is that it's very important to take a credit card that doesn't have like any international fees or anything like that, and to use that card you want to get Master or Visa. Some places do not take Discover, so just keep that in mind. And then if you do have a 30% or something crazy like that international fee, you're going to want to call your credit card company before to find out. But for the most part, throughout most of the UK, especially in England where I was at, they use their credit card for everything. They use it for the metro, They use it for the bus, and in some places and in some cases you can only use a credit card. So that was something that was kind of an obstacle for me. I personally took out cash and was trying to use cash in a lot of places because I didn't want to hit those international fees. But then there were some places where I actually had to use my Visa and MasterCard and had to take that hit and get those international fees. Pound is worth a little bit more than the United States dollar, so that's something to keep in mind. And when you are actually converting the money, I would pay really close attention to where you're getting your conversion at. I did do a place at the airport when I first got there, and I really wish I would have waited and looked at a couple different places and their conversion rates, because I lost like $200 when I converted it to pounds, and basically this place like ripped me off. So I definitely recommend that you look at a couple different places before you do the conversion. When I was on my way back to the United States and I was trying to convert it back to US dollars, they basically wanted to give me less money back and make it worth 1-to-1. So I would have basically gotten the same amount of money in dollars that I had in pounds. So I lost $200 and I didn't get any money back. And it was basically getting what I had in pounds in dollars, which is not how much it was worth. So just something to be aware of and to keep your eyes open for. Number 5, lastly, solo traveling. And if you are traveling solo, this is my tip for you. Just fucking do it.
Just fucking do it.
Honestly, especially if you already speak English as your first language, it was very easy to travel around the UK and to travel through England. Yes, I'm not gonna lie, it was challenges that I had, and times I couldn't get buses out of the city, and times I got stuck in a specific city. But because I speak English and English is the primary language, it was very easy to talk to other people, to get help, to figure out where to stay. Even if it was inconvenient, it was still possible and easy to navigate in that sense. I definitely want to recommend to anyone, especially women out there who may feel nervous about traveling alone, to just do it. It was such an empowering experience for myself to be able to travel so much of England by myself and to spend so much time where my own ancestors were at, and to do so by myself was such an independent pilgrimage and journey within itself. So I highly recommend to do so if you can, and to not let the fear or the propaganda of, being a woman by yourself stop you. It was such an empowering and confident experience, and I'm really grateful that I did go. And that's not to say that there wasn't times that weren't super challenging, or that I was kind of left all alone. I had no idea what to do, that I was completely terrified, because there definitely was. There was plenty of times where I was walking miles and miles in the dark because there was no bus systems that were operating. I had no way of getting basically where I needed to go, where my hotel or hostel was, because I didn't realize how far it was from the venue we were at. And I was, walking miles and miles and miles in the dark by myself. But overall, I felt pretty safe. And so I would definitely recommend for you to just go and to be safe, be smart. If you don't have WhatsApp, get WhatsApp. That's a very great way to conversate with people and to have the ability to call others without having crazy charges to your plan. So definitely get WhatsApp. And then you can call your friends if you ever feel like something's weird, and stay connected that way. Okay? Lastly, if you made it this far to the video, or maybe you skipped ahead, this is all about Stonehenge. So one of my favorite things I got to do before I left was getting to go to Stonehenge. And I've been wanting to go to Stonehenge for such a long time. It was something that's been on my bucket list, and something I feel very deep ancestral pull to. And actually later on, when I came back home, I found out that not only do I have a lot of relatives on my mom's side who actually lived in the London area specifically, but I also have ancestors who came from a village not too far from Stonehenge. So it was really special to be there and feel this strong emotional connection to this place, even prior to knowing that. I didn't find out that knowledge until I came back home. Anyways, I highly recommend it. It is very difficult to get around Stonehenge area if you do not have a car, and is one of the top reasons I would recommend getting a car rental if you plan on going to Stonehenge. It's about 2 hours, hour and a half-ish outside of London, west. So it's not too far. You can definitely take a National Express or a mega bus out there, or you may be even interested in taking a tour type of bus where they take you down there. You're down there for a couple hours and then bring you back that same day to London. I personally probably would have done that if I didn't feel this strong need to sit there and be there in that area for longer than just a couple hours. I really wanted to spend time with the land and spend time with the area and see what the vibes were like, you know? With that being said, it was also the beginning of December. It's very cold. A lot of the cities that are around the Stonehenge area basically close and shut down at 5 p.m. The buses shut down, the areas just closed. There were cabs, you could get around through cabs, and that saved me, but that was also very expensive. It cost me about like 30 pounds, 40 pounds, 50 pounds just to get to Stonehenge and back, if I calculated all of the money with the cab and then taking the bus. So that's a lot of money just to get a couple miles down the street, but it's because of the location. I stayed at this place called Stonehenge Hostel. Very beautiful hostel. They had a cute little farm. It was so adorable, but I would not recommend going to this hostel if you were actually trying to just hang out in the Stonehenge area and go to Stonehenge specifically. Unless you have a car, there's only one way to get from the hostel to the bus, and that's about a 20-minute walk down this dirt road, which is not too bad. But again, the time of year that I went, a lot of the areas closed by 5 p.m. and of course the sun goes down around 3:30 p.m. So it gets dark really fast. You don't have a lot of sunshine. So I ended up walking this 20-minute walk in the dark by myself back to my hostel from the bus stop. It wasn't too terrible, but I definitely wouldn't recommend it. I would personally recommend you to stay at Salisbury because Salisbury is this cute, adorable town. They had all these cute little farmers markets and events happening and restaurants and locations like that. My hostel also had only one food place, and that food place closed at 4 p.m. and it had no vegan, no vegetarian options. So that was a dilemma for myself as well because I don't eat meat. Salisbury has lots of different options and it was a really cute town. Salisbury is a little bit more expensive, but I definitely think that it's worth it to be able to get an overall vibe of the Stonehenge area. And it has a direct bus that goes straight to Stonehenge and back that's super cheap, so it's a lot better transportation wise. So if I did go back to Stonehenge, that's where I would stay at. All right, y'all, thank you so much for tuning in and watching this video. If you liked it, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe down below. Let me know what you thought. If you have any additional questions about traveling the UK England area, let me know. And until next time, much love.
You want the gift of giving by giving gifts for giving. My message to every city is love is within. Seize the moment.